All right. Hello and welcome to the Car Care channel live stream. How you guys doing this fine Saturday? It's still Saturday, right? Yeah, it is Saturday. Hopefully. All right. Let's dig right in, guys. Looks like you're all ready. So, one thing I'll say before we start, I'm sorry if I read your name wrong, or I'm not the greatest with names. I just fix cars, and took me a while to figure this live stream stuff. So let's get started. So Conard asks, does the front radar or camera identify wildlife, deer, raccoons, etc., approaching the car's path and activate collision mitigation? That's a good question. It's supposed to, but again, you got light conditions, you got how fast the thing jumped in front of the car, and it's mainly designed for like objects like cars, pedestrians. Um, it's not mainly made for animals and livestock, if you would, jumping like a deer jumping in front of your car. So just like I always say, I'd rather be safe and sorry and just pay attention. But again, I hear you 100%. If a deer jumps right in front of you, you really don't have enough time to react, but it should work for these situations. All right. Anthony says, I have a scheduling conflict and cannot attend the live stream. I would request a future video on the best way to heat the new RAV4 Prime when you live and commute in cold climate. So the RAV4 Prime, when the temperature is super low, it is supposed to turn on the engine or use PTC heaters. And by the heat generated by the battery, it's gonna warm up everything pretty quick. I wouldn't worry about it. I would start the car. If the engine doesn't start, just be on your way. That's a little different than your average hybrid or your average gasoline car. The Primes are awesome cars. They're different in every way. So I wouldn't worry too much. If the engine doesn't come up, I guess you're good to go. Just put it in drive and be on your way. Soccer Dad, you're awesome, man. Thank you, brother, for everything you do for the Toyota community. It is my pleasure. We are so blessed. I am blessed as well to have you guys. 4Runner's reliability is very impressive. Is getting a 4Runner an overkill if we don't do any off-roading? Well, the 4Runner is awesome. If you don't really do any off-roading, it's still a very, very good car. I mean, you can use it as a family car. They're a little bit higher, but a little not great on gas. They have an ancient engine, but overall, it's still a great car and actually a great investment. You buy this car, you own it for 5 years, and resale value is so high that you really can't go wrong with a 4Runner. One thing I'll tell you, don't buy a two-wheel drive 4Runner. Not because they're not good, but the resale value is really gonna struggle. And they're actually really hard to find two-wheel drive 4Runners anymore. But that's one thing. It's a great car. You can't go wrong with a 4Runner, off-roading or not. Guys, before we continue, can you guys hear me pretty good? I just wanted to make sure. I was actually testing the microphone earlier. Okay, I'll take that as a yes. Thank you. So let's go back. So Christopher says, hello, thank you for filling in a niche with your channel and providing valuable information. Well, thank you for watching, Christopher, and everybody else. I'm trying to decide on a Toyota product. What's your opinion on the Toyota Camry XSE V6 versus the ES350? Thanks. Well, folks, these two cars, the ES350 and the Camry, at some point, they used to be the same car. It used to be the ES350 or the 300 before, used to be a glorified Camry with more leather, nicer interiors. But at some point, they changed into the Avalon. So now the ES350 is more shared with the Avalon. Starting around 2014, when the new Avalon came out, that's when they start sharing the platform. They're both great cars. I really like the Camry XSE V6. Don't like the wheels. If you live in a, if you live in a city like Chicago with potholes and everything, they're both great cars. The 2GR FE or the 2GR FXE in the V6 Camry, or if you're talking about a newer ES350, which also has the same direct inject D4S engine. They're both great cars. It's really hard to pick between the two, but your ES350 is going to be larger, more refined, probably more expensive to buy new. If you're looking at buying them new, even used, they hold their value pretty well. It's going to be more smoother to drive, more comfortable. The Camry will be more, because it's an XSE, it'll be more sporty. It's considered the next generation of Toyota, so it might have a few features that will shock you that the ES350 won't have. But overall, you really can't go wrong with both cars. They're very similar-ish, but the ES350 is bigger. So I'd say whatever your budget can afford and whatever you like is the best choice. You really can't go wrong with either. All right, so Moose354 says, Car Care Nut, thank you for all that you do for the Toyota owners. My pleasure, guys. I have a 2004 Tundra V6 with a 5-speed manual transmission, and the wife has a 2016 4Runner. These are two awesome cars, actually. The old 4Runner, rare to find in V6 and manual trans, but if you don't live in a rust area, and that's the only thing that really killed these things, I mean, they'll just keep going forever. They really don't have any problems other than rust. Rust really kills them with the frames and exhaust and everything falling apart. And that 2016 4Runner is the same, actually. The only thing that kills these is rust. And if you live in, say, California, Arizona, someplace where you don't have road salt, you're going to have that car for a while. So you got nice cars there. All right, Emmanuel says, is it possible to safely remove the speed limit from my car? 2020 CHR. Honestly, I work at a dealership, so I wouldn't know aftermarket stuff and tuning and this and that to remove the speed limit. But honestly, I wouldn't, because speed limits in cars are put on not just because Toyota doesn't want you to go speeding. Everything in the car, the suspension, and most importantly, the tires are rated for that speed limit. You go taking the speed limit out, now the tires might not be very safe. You're going to start pushing things. And now you bought a Toyota for reliability. You go past the speed limit, now things might not become so reliable anymore. So honestly, personally, I don't know how to do that, and I wouldn't do that. Seriously, if you want a car that is faster, begin with a car that is faster to begin with, not try to push what you have past its limit. So Executive Callahan says, it is a shame I have to leave for work at 4:30. I had a few questions about my Avalon. If I can't make it, I might email you. Absolutely. And guys, this live stream, we're going to try to go as much as possible. But if I don't get to your question, or you have a question tomorrow or anytime, you're welcome to email me at thecarcarenut@gmail.com. I would love to help you guys. Just know one thing about emails. I get a lot of emails every day, so I try my best to get to them as fast as possible, but there's always going to be lag. But I will always get back to you. I made this promise when I started this channel. I'm going to reply to every comment, and that's hard. And I'm also going to respond to every email, because the objective of this channel is to help you guys make your Toyota experience much better and not break the bank doing it with incorrect information. So JM says, my 1981 Ford Fiesta is better than any Toyota. I will say that my 1980 Datsun 810B is not. And but it is, because if I didn't have that car, I wouldn't have become a mechanic, and this channel wouldn't exist, I suppose. So there's that. Thank you for your comment, bud. Soccer Dad again. What's up, man? So I hear that Sienna is going fully hybrid from 2021 model year. Is that true? While hybrid technology is very exciting, will the horsepower and torque be reduced? Thanks. So Yes, that is true. Actually, it already happened. The 2021 Sienna is hybrid only. It already came out. Very nice van, I think. Um, the horsepower and torque is reduced. And this is not official. I haven't heard anything official with COVID and everything. Our communication internally with Toyota is kind of not as we'd like it to be, but I guess that is their best way to make better gas mileage. I mean, folks, the Sienna is a very, very heavy van, and it serves a great purpose, but a single purpose. In order to make it gas efficient and all the emissions and all the requirements, they had to go with the hybrid option. Otherwise, putting a small four-cylinder alone was not really going to cut it for most people. I drove the Sienna, and I drove it extensively. It definitely has less power than the V6. There's no doubt about it. Sorry, Toyota, but that's the truth. But I would say that the power level is adequate for its use. Now, nobody's going to buy a van. I know there are some people that do. Nobody's going to buy a Sienna minivan and go racing with it or flying down the highway. That's not its intended purpose. But the V6 before gave that impression of the thing just up and goes. The hybrid is not like that. It's more behaved, if you would, but it's adequate. It's okay. I think for its intended purpose, I think it'll be fine. And we have, oh no, let me figure. William Castillo, thank you for your super chat. William Castillo put $10. I really appreciate that. It says, hello, and thank you for your help with our questions. My 2021 Highlander engine sounds louder when I first started, and then engine quiets down. Is that normal? Yes, William, that is very normal. And the V6 is a direct injection engine. It's a D4S, so it has 12 injectors. I'm sorry, it's a V6. If you have a V6, if you have a four-cylinder, then 8 injectors. So it has 4 direct, 4 port injectors. It's very normal when you start it. It's very loud because it goes into direct injection first, and the high-pressure pump is super loud. I mean, if you take the cover off, it is even louder. It is very loud. I'm 100% with you, man. They're super loud, but there's no problem. That's just the way they are. When you start it up, that thing will be blasting, and then it'll quiet down because it'll switch to port injection. And that's why, and as you drive it, it'll be switching back and forth, and you'll hear it all of a sudden get louder, get quieter. That's 100% normal. You got nothing to worry about, but I understand. It is a little concerning, if you would, but I hear you 100%. It's, when I first heard the direct injection engines, I was like, people are not going to like that, but that's new technology, and that's the compromise we got to give. And then we have Tommy Cash. Thank you so much for your super chat, Tommy Cash. Let's read your question. Amazing YouTube video from Car Code shows last 50 years of car production by country. China went from 0 to 30 million in 10 years, more than all countries combined. With Toyota, and look, folks, let's be real. The world we live in, there's a lot of things made in China. I've actually known a lot of Chinese people from China directly, not immigrants, not anything else. They're awesome people. They're very hardworking people. Just like anything else in the world, not everything that's made in USA or Germany or other countries is great. Casing point, some American cars are, but things that are made in China are not always bad. It depends. If you're buying a high quality Chinese part, it's going to be expensive. It's going to be very well made to any specifications that are required from its original manufacturer. There are some cheap stuff. There are some great stuff. So I'm not concerned that a lot of the parts or cars are being made in China, because I look at the manufacturer that makes them. Similar to Japanese-made Toyotas and American-made Toyotas, people seem to think the Japanese ones are better, and they were at some point, but not exactly the case. We'll talk about that in a different video. But no, I don't think I am very concerned that cars are being made in China. There's nothing wrong with that. I really am concerned who's the manufacturer of that whole car. If it's a good manufacturer that are engineering their stuff right, then the parts, whether they're made in China, USA, Germany, it doesn't really matter. They're going to be to their specifications. And if they're not, then that company is either going to cancel their contract with that company, whether it's Chinese or any other country, or not. That's how this is going to go. So we have another super chat from Shane. Hey man, how you doing? Thank you so much. Happy New Year. Thanks for the great content. Happy New Year to you as well, Shane. Thank you so much for continuing to support the channel and watching my videos. You're one of the OGs, man. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right. Let's go back to the questions. So Executive Callahan put 0 to 60 like 9 seconds. In Latin, it is a little unfortunate. Hopefully, they will make a Sienna Prime that's a little bit more peppy. I agree with that. Hey, now that they have the hybrid Sienna, maybe we'll see a hybrid Prime, a Sienna Prime. That would be cool. At some point, Toyota promised everybody, and I don't know if it's internal or everybody knows about this. Hopefully, I'm not sharing some state secrets here. They want to make every model that they sell available in hybrid or even all hybrid. And I think that's realistic. They make such fine hybrid cars that why not? Let's have a hybrid everything. Now there's talk on the internet of a OE Tundra hybrid. So, hey, we'll find out. We'll know about that soon, but I'm not concerned. I think hybrids are great, and we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And Soccer Dad says it would be great if a Sienna Prime comes out. I cannot agree more. And I don't see it far from reality. So let's see. Oh, what happened to the chat? Okay. So N6 Yun, I'm looking at the 2021 Sienna Hybrid, only to find out that it has a 4-cylinder. I already own a 4-cylinder, but the dealer tells me the 4-cylinder is now high power for. What is your feeling about this? So it's a hybrid drive. So the 4-cylinder is not alone. It's going to have the help of the hybrid motors. So it's going to have more power than your average 4-cylinder, so especially on takeoff. I mean, hybrids take off very rapidly, but then they're not very fast by any means, but that's not what they're intended. I mean, yes, a 4-cylinder, the V6 might be better suited for hauling a lot of people and all that, but guess what? The gas mileage that this Sienna will get is very impressive. I mean, for its intended purpose, again, I think most people will find it great that it has great gas mileage. It's very reliable, and they're not looking for a car, and unless you live in a hilly area where they're always demanding high power from the car, you're really not going to notice that much difference. Normal driving, the thing drives great. So that's really, I would test drive one and see if you're happy with the power level that it makes. So Abrar Musani says, hi, bro. Hey, man, how you doing? Good to see you. So Soccer Dad, thank you so much for the super chat. Again, thank you. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you for joining. So Mo Anthony says, what's your experience to date on reliability of the CHR? Well, you know what? When the CHR first came out, it was a little bit of a strange car for us. I'll be honest. I mean, I'll just say this. So it was the first car that came to the US that's made in Turkey. And I have ties to that area, and I was excited. And there was some concerns because this is the first Turkish-made Toyota to make its way to the US. And honestly, nothing. There has been nothing with the CHR. We've had a few odds and ends here, rattle here. We had one that was in an accident. The brakes went crazy, but again, that was in an accident. But other than that, they've been very solid, and that's why I don't make a video on the CHR, because there's not much to say. They're very reliable. One thing I will say, the rear door handle, we've got some complaints about door handle being so high up, kids can't reach it. But again, that's just the design of it. It's a great little car. I wish they had an all-wheel drive. That would be really cool. But overall, it's a great car. And if you own one or you're looking to buy one, you can't go wrong. They're really good. So Abrar Musani says, chassis tightening of the Camry Hybrid 2019 to avoid rattling in the long run. How to explain it to Toyota, and also please talk about the transmission fluid change interval. Okay, so look, folks, most people talk about this, about the chassis tightening during maintenance. And not all technicians do this, I'll be honest. And every single chassis we have tightened has been up to spec. You really don't see this with Toyotas. They just don't get loose over time and rattle. Most rattles are not from the suspension. Most rattles are from the interior, plastics, and even fixing those rattles, there are unconventional methods to fix them, if you would. We literally use foam and insulation just to quiet things down. Suspension rattle, usually they don't show up until later, and usually the most offenders are strut mounts, sway bar links, not really the chassis itself getting loose. We've had a few cases where bolts have come loose, but they were very new cars, and we suspected they were from the manufacturing. They were like that, not because they just loosen normally. I mean, the bolts, they have high torque and they have a washer, so they're locked really in a normal condition, driving condition. 20 years down the road, that bolt will still be tight exactly the way it came out of the factory. They're not known to come loose and cause issue. On the transmission interval, I would say 60,000 miles, 6 years, you're playing it safe. If you go a little bit further, if you get closer to 100,000, the fluid will get darker. You might have a slight shifting, abnormal shifting, kind of not the smoothest shifting in the world. But I would stick with 60,000, 6 years. Leave that seal trans stuff for those that don't know. Now that you know, keep it at 60,000, 6 years. Look, folks, transmission fluid is cheap. Transmission itself is very expensive. So do you want to wait until your lifetime fluid lets go and then now the transmission is gone before you change it? Now you're well out of warranty and you're on your own. Or would you rather spend a little bit of money, change the fluid, protect your investment, and move on? I'll go with protecting your investment. The rest is up to you, but I would change it every 60,000 or 6 years. So Imad Abdel Masih says, is the RAV4 hybrid, 2020 RAV4 hybrid, a reliable vehicle? Yes, it is a super reliable vehicle, but if you go Googling right now, you'll see a huge list of problems with this car, namely the fuel tank issue. Folks, this issue has been fixed. If you're not aware, it has been fixed, and we don't really have any issues with it anymore. So if you have the fuel tank issue, go to your dealer, get the thing fixed, and you will have no issues. And the fix is very simple. There's a calibration. They're gonna check if the issue is actually there. If it is, they're either going to replace the fuel tank or the fuel sender or both, or some cars will just get a calibration and life is good. That's the only problem that we've had with the RAV4 hybrids. RAV4, that generation, RAV4 in general, has a notorious problem with something called a DCM, data communication module. It's basically a cell phone that causes some issues, needs some updates, from dying batteries to remote start not working, all these things. So other than these issues, which are resolved already, if you buy one, they're under warranty, you're going to get that taken care of. I'm not worried about it. It's a great car by a great company. I don't see any issues buying a 2020 or this current generation RAV4. By the way, I'm going to make a video on this one coming up hopefully in the next few weeks, talking about everything in details. All right, so we got Abrar Mosani. Thank you so much, sir, for your super chat. I really appreciate it. And Marty, thank you so much for your super chat as well. I really appreciate your support, guys. So the Swedish Toyota family. Awesome. I like that name. Great Initiative AMD, greetings from Sweden. Well, thank you so much. Greetings from Chicago, Illinois. Thank you. So Raina Fortini says, I wasn't able to read your reply to whether or not I should spend $350 or more to clean my 2012 Prius battery fan filter. Don't have that filter in mind. I guess it's an older model. So your 2012 Prius, I would not spend the $350 because what if the fan was never dirty to begin with? What I like to do usually when we get a car, now the 2012 Prius did not come with a filter from the factory. If that's the case, I usually like to use a little inspection camera, go through the vent, go to the fan. If it's not dirty, why are we spending the money? At that point, we're just going to put a filter. That way, in the next time, or if you get a pet, do something that start using the back seat heavily. It's very easy. The filter is right there. Just peel it off, vacuum it, clean it, put it back. Life is good. So I don't see just you spending $350. And by the way, that's a correct price. It's not overpriced because there's some disassembly to getting all the back seat out, to remove the actual fan and clean it. But if the fan is not dirty, imagine you spending all that money and the technician takes the whole thing apart and takes the fan. Fan looks very clean. So why are we doing all this? Again, I don't fault the technician as that because they did all the work. They need to get paid for their time. However, me thinking of the customer, and not all technicians will do this, and I don't blame them. I just stick a camera. It takes me 2 minutes. Put a camera in there. If it's not dirty, then why are we wasting the customer's money? I'd rather tell you, you know what? Spend $100, $120. Let us for this, and let us put a filter, and life is good. And I'll show you the filter, tell you, here's your filter, here's how you take it off, vacuum it out. If you can't do that, then you're welcome to stop by, and we'll charge you to do that, basically. It's as simple as that. So let's go down. Any comments on the new Sienna hybrid system? So I've covered this a little bit, but it's really a very similar system to 19 RAV4 hybrid, the new Venza hybrid. It's just a A25A FXE, very nice engine with a lot of good features. I had a video on that. I don't know if you guys have seen it. It's the same engine, same hybrid drive. It's the latest generation hybrid system, similar to 16 Prius, but of course updated for the bigger car. It's really another solid bulletproof hybrid system as long as it's maintained. The battery filters are on the sides of the front seats. By the way, on the Sienna hybrid, and if you sit in one, the seat is so high, you look like you're sitting in a king's throne. Because the battery sits underneath the front seat, this is the first hybrid model that has that. Usually they're behind the back seat, all the way in the back of the car. This is the first one that the battery is underneath the front seats. So that's the only different thing. But as far as reliability, I anticipate they're going to be very reliable because we really had no issues with the latest generation hybrid system. So Executive Callahan says, on my 2008 Avalon, the part of the headliner near the back window came loose and rattles sometimes. I tried some double-sided tape, something sticky, but it didn't really work. So the headliner, I'm thinking you mean the headliner itself, not the covering on the headliner, because they're notorious to sag. Unfortunately, you're going to have to pull that headliner a little bit down and see what is contacting. And I would use foam, like insulation foam. I want to say it's some duct stuff from Home Depot. You'll find some foam that is foam on one side and sticky tape on the back. You just stick it on the area that is making noise. But unfortunately, you're going to have to drop that headliner a little bit and isolate exactly what's making noise. There are some like plastics that hold the kind of position the headliner. Usually those are what rattles. Again, it's not a huge deal, but I know it can get really annoying. And usually that's the best thing to use. Use foam that would insulate plastic from hitting the metal roof, and that usually does it. But you want to drop the headliner a little bit to see what's going on behind it. Also, Executive Callahan asked, any idea how to fix or what a dealership would charge to fix? Honestly, dealerships can get a little expensive with rattles because you're chasing a needle in a haystack at sometimes. The fix itself is not a big deal, but finding exactly what's rattling. Most dealerships will start you off with an hour labor. Our labor will vary from state to state, country to country. Around Chicago, it's around 130, 150 per hour. They'll start you off with an hour. Once they've used the whole hour, they're just going to keep going hour until they find the issue. Because if they need to drop the headliner, they're going to stop right there and tell you, okay, it's X amount of labor hours to drop the headliner so we can see what's going on. And they'll go from there. That's usually how that costs. So Othniel Badia, and I'm sorry if I said that wrong, can we persuade Toyota to create a retro kit for Android Auto and Apple CarPlay? Folks, Toyota is one of those companies that, believe it or not, they listen. And they're always on us as technicians. They want to hear the customer voice. That's what they call it. They want to hear you guys what you want to change in their cars, as long as it's something reasonable. And I think that is something very, very reasonable. You got to reach out to them. You can call the Customer Experience Center. You're not filing a complaint of a current issue. You're just voicing your opinion as a customer. And I encourage you to do that. And this comes not from me. I hear Toyota saying that all the time. They'd love to hear the customer voice. And that's essentially, guys, you are the ones who are going to drive the cars, not the engineer that designed the car. So your voice matters a lot. So voice your opinion, call them, give them a call. Don't think that it's going to go to deaf ears, because it does not. They do listen to it. When they get enough complaints about a single thing, or not complaints, opinions to change things, they're going to actually move to do those changes. All right. So do you think Corolla 14 Corolla with the 4-speed automatic transmission reliable? It's very reliable, because that would be an L model. So folks, if you're not aware, the Corolla with the CVT 14 is the first year. If you buy an L model, it comes with the previous generation automatic transmission, which is very solid, bulletproof. It had one problem, and that was caused by misuse. But that problem was, if you slam the car and park before it's completely stopped, the parking paw loves to break on these. So I've done so many transmissions because of this. You tear it apart and the paw is all broken, falling apart. That's the only thing, but I don't think that's against the transmission. I think that's misuse. So try not to do that. I know sometimes we're in a hurry, we're coming to a stop, and we slam the car and park and running, the way life goes these days. But try to be gentle with that thing, and you should have no issues with that transmission. I didn't really see many issues with this transmission. So Anthony says, thank you for all your help. I have to leave. How do I contact you with questions going forward? Well, thank you for joining, Anthony, first, and you're welcome to write a comment on the channel or any of the videos. I check every single comment, good or bad. Some of the bad ones are interesting, but I read every single comment. You're also welcome to email me at thecarcarenut@gmail.com. Just one thing on the emails, I get a lot of emails, so it might take me a few days to get back to you, and I'm actually very behind because I'm doing the live stream. Usually I spend some time on Saturdays to answer emails, but I will always get back to you. It's just a matter of when. Keep you waiting a little bit. All right. Frankie Chai says, hi. Hey, man. How you doing? Shaji Auto says, is there a way to prevent the ABS accumulator on the second generation Prius? I have two 2006s and they are great, but one is making some noise when holding the brake pedal at a stop. No lights or warnings. So the second generation Prius, and actually even the third generation Prius, they did have some issues with the brakes. The noise that the pump makes there are two types of noises. One of them is just a louder buzzing. That's usually the pump is getting a little bit up there in age and starts making noise. In that case, I wouldn't worry about it. There's not much you can do to help it, because you're not going to just jump and replace it. Just wait for it to die and then replace it. And when I say wait for it to die, you could be waiting for a while, because I rarely get in a Prius that doesn't buzz louder than normal. But it's one of those things. Why jump the gun and just spend your money? It could be 10 years before the thing dies eventually. So I wouldn't worry about it. The second noise is a squawking noise. This doesn't happen when you press the brake. It's like, and it just randomly, like a little duck squeaking, if you would. That's the only way we describe it. That is air in the system. You do want to. That's actually one that really causes damage. So if you hear that noise, get the brakes bled. You do need a scan tool to do that, and that should resolve the issue. And if it doesn't, then there's a leak, internal leak in the system, and at that point, parts will need to be replaced. But at that point, I would just drive it till things completely die. Then worry about it, I suppose. Frankie Chai says hi. Hey man, how you doing, brother? So from Australia, Frankie Chai. Hey man, how you doing? That's pretty far from where I'm at. So Shaji Autos also say don't want to spend $2,600 on repairs. Well, don't. If you don't have any warning lights, I wouldn't. Save that $2,600. Maybe it lasts you 5 years. At that point, get rid of the car and get another one and use that $2,600 as a down payment. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, folks. If it makes a little bit of noise, make your best judgment on that, because if it's already going bad, then wait for it to completely go bad, then deal with it. All right, Roland said, hello, sir. I really enjoy your content. Well, thank you, Roland. Thank you for watching my videos and joining the live stream. I really appreciate it. So let's see. Ahmad Sahim says, thank you for all the info. God bless. God bless you too, my brother. Thank you so much. Joseph says, how often should you change a PCV valve? Hang on. What happened here? Oop. Sorry, guys. I'm also learning how this... how often should you change a PCV valve on a 2019 Camry with a 2.5-liter engine? Folks, PCV valves are not maintenance items. Just so you know. There's no interval for them. On a healthy running engine, you should not need to replace one, because we're going to change our oil every 5,000 miles, right? Hint, hint. If your engine is healthy, you don't have sludge issues, there's no reason to replace the PCV valve. If you are doing this yourself and it's really, the valve's only a few bucks and you're willing to do this, I would do it every time we do the spark plugs, which on some of the newer engines, by the way, I did say it's 120K, but some of the newer engines are calling for 60, namely the new V6. But if you're changing the spark plugs, change the PCV valve if you're doing it yourself, but don't be overpaying, because some of these newer cars are getting a little bit more complicated with PCV valves. If you have any concerns of oil burning or other issues, then perhaps you want to check it at least. You just rattle it. If it's rattling, then it's good. It's a one-way valve. That's all it is. It really doesn't do any other magic. So, all right. So, Beat Probst, thank you so much for your super chat. What are the most common problems with the new generation RAV4 hybrid in your opinion? So, the most common problem really with the RAV4 hybrid is the fuel tank issue. You fill the car up, doesn't fill all the way, or doesn't take, or when it gets to empty, the light comes on at an incorrect time. That issue has been resolved by Toyota. It's under warranty, of course. Take it in. They're either going to calibrate it, replace the tank and the fuel sender, or just the fuel sender. Not really a very concerning issue, because it's been fixed. Yes, it took a long time to get it fixed, but that's about it. The other issue is DCM. Again, you're going to have issues with the DCM with remote start and remote connect. But most of these issues, there's software updates for these. If you have issues with them, get them taken care of, and you're good to go. Otherwise, it's a really good car. It's a huge improvement. I never thought the previous RAV4 would get an improvement because it was so good. The new one is even better. All right. So what happened here? Let's see where we're at. Sorry, guys. Here we go. So, Sayapa Rivera Blanco, thank you very much for doing this. You're very welcome, Sayapa. I actually know who you are. I know who you are. Claudia Ibrahim, how reliable is Toyota's new 8-speed transmission? That's a very good subject. So, 8-speed transmissions, folks, if you have a around 2017, 2018 car, you might have some issues. They're going to be fixed, either new transmission with an updated hardware and a new software, or some of them will just get a software update. But after that, and this is what I want you to know, after that, there has been no issues. The transmission just shift in a weird way because it's 8 speeds. There's just too many speeds. But there are no issues. That's just the way it's designed. And I just want you guys to know that, because this is becoming kind of a reputation thing with Toyota where, oh, they have a bad transmission. That's not the case. That's not the case. They had issues when the transmission came out, and after that, life's good. I'm not worried about it. So, Roland, looking forward to your Prius C parking brake adjustment video. You got it. It's actually on the list. It's a pretty big list, so I try to get to them as I can, as time allows between family and work. So, yeah, that is on the list, and you'll see it from the channel. Chris Kemp says, how often should I clean my HV battery fan filter in my 2019 Toyota Avalon? So, folks, the high voltage fan filter, it depends on your use. Some people will get a completely clogged filter in a month. Some people in 3 years, it's perfectly clean. Basically, if you have pets that sit in the back, if you have children, if you have heavy, like if you drive Uber or Lyft or commercial car, you have heavy backseat traffic, that's when you would want to check it every 2-3 months. Otherwise, if you don't have heavy backseat use, I would check it first time 3 months. If it's clean, check it 6 months, a year. Just see how it's progressing. If you check it after a year and it's clean, then I guess we don't have to worry about it, because you just don't have the demands in the back seat to need cleaning. So Mark 15 says, hello, I have a 2013 Lexus GS450. Should I change the CVT transmission fluid? It has never been changed. So the Lexus GS450 hybrid does not have a conventional CVT, so there's no belt and clutches and all this nice mess. It's a hybrid transmission, so yeah, I don't see a reason why you shouldn't replace the transmission fluid. Just make sure you use the right fluid and you'll be good to go. Manuel, thank you for your time and advice. You got it, man. Thank you for joining. So Bradley says, I've heard of fuel gauge fuel fill issues with the new RAV4. Have you heard or seen this issue? Does Toyota know about it and is working on a fix? Yes, the issue has been fixed. It's a known problem. It's been on for a while, but it has been fixed. So if you have one of those cars, I encourage you, if you have a car with this problem, I encourage you to go to the dealership. They'll take care of it for you, and you'll be good to go. So, Fred, what's the best Highlander I can get for about $15K? Now, honestly, Fred, I am a technician. I don't know about car prices, but for $15K, you're probably in the 2008 to 2013 Highlander range. I have a video on that. You might want to run through the common problems. Make sure you're buying yourself a good one. And another thing is you just might make it into the 14 Highlander, 15 Highlander range. It'll be with higher miles. Honestly, I'd rather you buy a good 13, 12, 11 than buy a 200,000 mile 14. That's just my opinion. But yeah, with that budget, I think you'll find a lot. That varies between areas. So good luck with your car hunt, by the way. DLS says, hello, Car Kiernot. Hello, man. How you doing? I have a Scion IM CVT, hoping it will last a long time. Only 45K so far. What do you think about the CVT transmission? So the CVT transmission, folks, has been very reliable. There have been few early production issues when it first came out. Nothing crazy. Most of them were covered under warranty. But I know, folks, always comment and they worry about, wait a minute, what about after warranty? Well, we've seen a lot of these cars with the CVT that has a lot of miles and things were just great. There's no problems. When you have a production issue, it's going to surface in the first year or less, sometimes less. When you have a normal problem that's just wear and tear, it's going to, with Toyotas usually, it'll surface much, much later on in its life. So no, I'm not worried about the CVT transmission. I know it gets scary when you read about Nissan, but no, we're not Nissan. This is Toyota Town. We don't have CVT problems. So, John Ricard, thank you so much for your super chat. Let's read your question. Can you change the TC lockup points on a torque converter lockup points on a 2010 Toyota Sienna? So Toyota does not allow for shift point, manual shift point changes with their scan tool. You can't really change the lockup point, and I know newer cars are getting worse and worse, but 2010 Sienna should not lock up very early, unlike like 2012 Camry, which started locking up at 20 miles an hour, which caused the whole torque converter shutter deal. But unfortunately, you cannot change it via the dealership. Maybe some aftermarket stuff, some modifying of the software, but through Toyota, it's not an option that you can modify. So let's get back. So Joseph said, how often should you change a PCV valve? I think we've already answered this. I have test driven the new Toyota Sienna, and it's actually quicker than the Highlander hybrid. Yeah, it is. I think they changed the programming or the mapping of the whole hybrid system, so it would be a little bit more, they would have more pickup and things would, move quicker, if you would, because they figured people with minivans are going to use them a lot more for transporting more people and their luggage, and they wanted to give it a little bit extra push. And yeah, they're both great cars, and I think they have adequate power, if you would. So Duke says, hello AMD. If I want a reliable Toyota sedan which can last over 300,000 miles, should I pick a V4 or a V6, i4 or V6? So that's a very open question, because to get to 300,000 miles, and what most people don't tell you is, you're going to have to take care of this car, and you're going to spend some money to maintain it, to fix anything that it needs, so it would be healthy at 300,000 miles. So it's not going to just be like, oh, I'm just going to drive the car and do the minimal maintenance, and I'll just make it to 300,000 without a single hiccup. That's not the case. You got to maintain it very well, and people that get cars this high miles, they usually take care of very, very good care of their cars. Being Toyotas, they're not going to be a hopeless case where things are just falling completely apart at 300,000 miles, but you need to maintain it. So which engine would last that much? It really doesn't matter. They both last that much if you take care of them. I would focus more on taking care of the car than which engine lasts that long. Some of the four-cylinders will have some issues with oil burning. Some of the V6s will have oil leaks, rattles that can be a little bit expensive to fix as they get much older and higher miles. But nothing is impossible. If you really want to keep this car for long, you can fix it and just keep going. They'll keep going. I mean, I understand, the car is 15 years old, has 200,000 miles. Now you have to spend $6,000, $7,000 to fix a problem with the engine. But guess what? If you do that, now the car is going to last another 10, 15 years, another 200,000, 300,000 miles without any issues. So that's what you want to factor in. All right. So Eric Marrero, thank you so much for your super chat, man. I appreciate it. So Fallen Noob, hey man, I haven't seen you in a while. So my Corolla with drums in the back and discs in the front squeals every time I brake. What could be causing this? So two things that would cause brakes to squeal. First, aftermarket pads that are not lubricated properly. That'll cause a squeal. Again, a squeal is not a problem. It's more of an annoyance. It's more of a harmonic vibration of the pad. One thing about drum brakes on these, if you put aftermarket drum brakes, they're going to squeal no matter what. Yes, there will be some that won't, but most of them will, and that's just the way it is. So it really depends what has been going on with the car. Did you just replace the brakes? Are they original? If they're original, everything is fine. Take the fronts, clean them up, put the correct grease in the right spots, like I showed you in the video that I made about brakes, and see what happens. And the most important thing is that you got to isolate, is it front or back making the squeal, because each will have a different process of how to deal with it. So N6 Yun says, is the 4-cylinder hybrid Sienna the same engine as the 4-cylinder in 2012? 2011, no, it's not. So the 2011 4-cylinder is going to be a 1AR-FE. That's also a 2.7 liter inline 4. The Sienna Hybrid has a 4-cylinder A25A, which is a 2.5 liter, which is the newest, the greatest from Toyota engine-wise. So no, they're not the same engine. They drive completely different. Okay. So TG says, I have a 2020 Supra. Man, we got a Superman here. Sorry if you watch some of my videos. I'm not kind to them. With driving it in sports mode all the time, put more stress on the engine and transmission in the long run. So that's a very good question. Yes and no. You guys have heard that before on the channel. Well, it's going to put strain on the engine, of course, because now you're in sport mode. The transmission is always very tight, shift points and everything. But the one thing I'm concerned about is if you drive your Supra and you know exactly what I'm talking about. But for everybody else, if you put the Supra in sport mode and you drive and let go of the gas, you get all the giant fancy crackles out of the exhaust. That's basically raw fuel being pumped in the exhaust. And I wonder how long are those catalytic converters going to take to that giant rumble of gas just being dumped down the exhaust. So that's one thing I would worry about. I wouldn't drive it in sport mode all day long. Yeah, I know it's fun to drive it in sport mode all day long, but I honestly wouldn't. On a normal daily drive, I would just not use sport mode unless that one day where you feel like driving spiritedly or you're on the track or something like that, then I'll use it. But I wouldn't use it 24/7. So Fred says, hello, what year Highlander is the best for about 15K? I believe, Fred, we already answered that, but thank you for your question. L, the Supra is pretty much a BMW. You should run fine in sports mode. It is, but I wouldn't run it in sports mode all day long. The Swedish Toyota family says, what do you think about AMSOIL products for Toyotas? They seem competitive and in comparison to Toyota original products. Honestly, folks, I'll say this, and sorry, AMSOIL, I don't think you're listening, so I'll just say this. AMSOIL makes great products, and I personally love AMSOIL. I think they make great products, but the prices for what you're actually gaining, I don't know if you're actually going to get that. With Toyota specifically, with other manufacturers, maybe. But I'd much rather you buy Mobile One from Walmart or from anywhere else that is much cheaper than AMSOIL and change it more often. They'll actually do you better long run than using the fanciest oil and not changing it every... I'm hearing people doing 15, 20K miles. I would never do that, and I don't encourage you to do that. Folks, don't do the maintenance right, do it on time, and take care of your car, but don't overdo it. I think buying AMSOIL and then going 15, 20,000 miles because you see it that way, I don't think that's a good idea. I would actually advise against it. So Gus Vega says, hi, some Toyota VVT have an issue with the phaser at cold start rattle. Will it harm the engine? Yes, folks, VVTI rattle, the cold start rattle, that is one that has been around for a while. So one thing I will tell you, if you have a 2AR engine or the 2.5 in like 12 Camry all the way to 17 Camry, or that engine, these engines naturally will rattle a little bit, like for a second, and very faint. They'll rattle a little bit on cold start, and that's normal. So I see people worried about this, and they're always emailing me with videos and, hey, I'm worried. Is this normal? Is this not? Is this the cold rattle from the VVTI gear? If the VVTI gear rattle will be very high pitched and it'll last for like 3 to 5 seconds, and you'll know. I mean, even the engine RPM will drop a little bit then and come back up. But some engines will make that quick rattle when you start them. That's normal. I'm not worried about that. But if you do have that deep rattle, I would get them fixed, because if they come apart, not good. Not good stuff. That's all I can say about that. Olirto, sorry if I said that wrong. I can't stay online, family business. Thank you for every video you make, honest guy. Thank you so much for joining us. Best wishes with your family business. So Eric says, my transmission mechanic says, I don't need to stick to Toyota CVT FE fluid. What do you think? Well, is that same transmission mechanic going to write you a written guarantee for the next 60,000 miles that this fluid will be perfect? If he does, sure, put water for all I care if you're warranting it if it goes south. Otherwise, folks, stick with the original fluids on every single transmission, because just remember, when you have a problem, you're on your own with any aftermarket fluid. Yeah, the companies will say, we will warranty, la, la, la. But then when it comes down to it, you're on your own. So why take the gambles? Every 60,000, use the original fluid. Yes, some of the CVT fluid is very expensive, but so is your transmission. So stick with the original fluid on this one. You will not have issues. And if any shop has a problem using the original fluids that you are paying for, I have a problem with you servicing your car in that place, because you are the customer, you are the owner. If you're willing to spend the money, they're welcome to give you advice otherwise. But in the end, it is your choice. You should make it, not them make it for you. Always do that with mechanics. So, what happened here? Sorry, guys, I'm trying to figure out the next. Here we go. All right. So Abrar Massini says, can you please comment about the transmission oil change for the Camry Hybrid 2019? Toyota says it's sealed. There's no need. There's la, la, la. You know what? Change it every 60 to 90,000 and you'll have no problems. Hybrid transmissions, they're very simple. Open the fill plug. Make sure it comes apart first. Remember, open the drain plug, drain the fluid, close the drain plug, add fluid until it overflows. Close it, be on your way. Make sure you use ATFWS though. Sealed transmission? I don't know about that. I wouldn't do that, honestly. All right. Also, Abrar says, comment on how to rust-proof your car. I'm in Canada. I'm actually thinking of doing a video on that. So rust-proofing needs to reoccur. So any spots that wear off from normally used rocks, whatever, you need to recover them. There are a lot of products out there, and that's what I'm looking into. I'll save that for a future video, though, that I'll come up with. Let's see. Douglas says, Douglas Travel Basketball Videos. Is that a channel? I wonder. I want to check that out. Can you think of any safety reasons not to purchase a 2019 Corolla LE versus SE? This would be for a young driver that really likes the SE style. Does the SE tire size cause any safety concerns? That's a good question. I'm more concerned not only for safety, but for wear. A new driver will not have the experience to dodge potholes and all this other stuff. So, and then in the SE models, they'll have bigger tires or bigger wheels, and they're going to just hammer on these tires and wheels, and eventually they're going to have flat tires, bubbles in the tires. So that's where the safety concern comes in. The LE will have a much bigger tire, higher tire, now a low profile tire, where they're a lot more forgiving. I mean, is that new driver really going to check their tires for bubbles, for impact damage on the side of on the sidewall of the tire. I don't know about that, and I'd rather go with the LE. But if they really like the SE, safety-wise, they're pretty much the same. They have the same safety features, but the tires will be the one thing that I would worry about. So Demetrius says, hello, I'm looking into a new car. I've seen the new 2021 Mirai, and I really like the looks both inside and out. Do you have any experience on hydrogen? Should I go for an ES hybrid? Honestly, guys, I will just flat out and say this. I am not trained for the Mirai because they're not sold in Illinois. They're only sold in California. And my concern with hydrogen cars is hydrogen. Is it available? Just like an EV car. Do you have charge stations? Yes, for EV cars, there's charge stations all over the place. But with hydrogen cars, you got to think, do I have hydrogen? Say I'm taking a good trip to good old Chicago. There is none here. So you're on your own with that one. So basically, you have a California-only car. If you buy a Mirai ES hybrid, you can't go wrong with it. ES hybrid, it's a normal car. It's a regular hybrid. I would go for it, actually. Okay, so dogs are fun too. I agree. They're awesome. How are the RAV4 8-speed transmissions? Heard not as good as 6 speeds. So the RAV4, we're talking about 19 and up RAV4s with the 8-speed trans, they really had zero issues, not like some of the other models when they first came out. The shifting is okay. Yes, I still have that hunting because there's so many gears, but they really have no issue. That's just the way the transmission is because it has so many gears. So I'm not worried about the transmission in the newest generation RAV4 not hybrid. So Hit 'em Up says, what's better, the new 2.0 in the Corolla or the new 2.5 in the Camry? Well, that's a very good question because they're the same engine with slightly different displacement. They're exactly the same. There's no one better or the other. Obviously, 2.5 will make a little bit more power, but they're both the same. They have the same features, same everything. I don't see one being better than the other. Swedish Toyota family, it's a Sienna TRD would be cool. I agree. I actually like the Camry and Avalon TRD models. So Scott Brooks says, my wife has a 2013 Highlander, and she says every now and then the passenger lock won't lock. The passenger door won't lock. Is there a pattern failure in the door lock mechanism? Yes, sir. So it's very, very common on the Highlanders, the door lock actuator, which is part of the whole latch, they fail. They fail sometimes even in pairs at the same time. They seem to, that's just one of their common issues. So it's very simple. Replace the door latch, or most people refer to it as a door lock actuator, but it's actually one unit. There's nothing separate to replace. Just replace the door latch and you'll be on your way. That's about it. Steve J says, are the generator on the new hybrid still expensive to replace? Well, I'm wondering what you mean by generator, if you mean the inverter or the transmission. Yes, they are very expensive to replace, but the good thing is a very large percentage of people will never have to deal with issues with those. And usually, knowing how Toyota is, any big issues that are going to be very common with these, they usually come out with some kind of policy to cover their people. Again, this is what makes Toyota great. They really take care of their people. And when they have problems and they mess things up, which, again, we're all humans, it happens, they usually stand behind their product and take care of their people. And that's the beauty of owning a Toyota. So, Dogs Are Fun says, are Toyota engineers nuts removing the transmission dipstick? They're not. Look, folks, engineers are awesome. They do so many things right, and we never tell them thank you, but we kind of focus on their shortfallings, and that's fine. I think they have thick skin. They'll be fine. But they follow the trend of the business, if you would, and there's no direct answer for this one, but my opinion is cost, and they don't want people fumbling with the transmission and causing more issues. And now Toyota has to warranty this transmission because people didn't do the fluid right or didn't set the level right. So that's what it is. But again, it's not really very difficult. And I say this because I'm a mechanic, but it is not very difficult to deal with the one that doesn't have the dipstick. I had a video for that. I would check it out and let me know if you have any questions. So Chris says, the dealership had told me to fill up with premium gas once every 4 fill-ups for my 2019 Toyota Avalon hybrids to get the best gas mileage. No, sorry, but there is science, and then there is the salesman opinion or whoever at the dealership. There is no scientific reason why a car would get better gas mileage on premium. Yes, folks have reported and said that, but scientifically, the info is not there. That's not how premium fuel works. And honestly, you're wasting your money if you put premium gas in a non-premium requiring car. But that's totally up to you. But I wouldn't do that. You can't cause harm, by the way. I just want to make sure. But you're not gaining anything. You're just wasting your money. So Marty says, a neighbor has a 2001 Tacoma. ABS module is bad. No new parts is available. Are used parts a good choice? Or is there no hope? Yes, in that case, you have no other choice but used parts or some aftermarket. Some, very few, that will deal with an ABS actuator. But yeah, at that point, you have no other choice. Might as well give it a shot and see what happens. So the Swedish Toyota family says, I've had Turkish-made Toyotas. The manufacturing actually have a very good standing with the Toyota family. That's good to know because I'm pretty sure they're more available in Europe than over the pond, if you would. But the CHR was the first Turkish-made car to make it in the USA. Turkish-made Toyota, not car. But yeah, we're very impressed by them. I mean, we had zero manufacturing issues. Usually you get small, tiny little stuff. We forgot this, we forgot that. But the CHR really had nothing. Scott M says, hey, AMD, I have messaged you several times and you always reply, thank you. Well, thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And guys, thank you all for attending. Anything you need, this is why I created this channel, to help you guys. So Hexacon says, I had Toyota do the transmission fluid on my 2008 Lexus LS460. I recently checked the bill and they only charged me for 5 quarts. I believe it holds 11 quarts. Did they not do a full flush? On some transmissions, I believe the LS460 is one of them. If they don't have transmission cooler lines, some of these newer cars, they have just a coolant. Actually, it's a transmission fluid warmer. If they don't have lines, they can't do a flush. So that might be the case there. I would ask them, see what happened there. But 5 quarts looks like a drain and fill. And usually most dealerships will charge the same for a drain and fill and flush because honestly, they're work-wise, they're the same. But the fluid difference might make up the difference. But they probably did a drain and fill there, which is not a problem. But if they overcharged you for a drain and fill, then that is a problem. But yeah, that might be because they don't have a transmission lines external. That's why they can't do a flush. Scott says, still thinking about the new RAV4 hybrid. You have helped me a lot. Welcome, man. You can't go wrong with a RAV4 hybrid. They're great cars. So Fred says, my Toyota RAV4 has 230,000 miles and notice a little metal sediment. Should I drive it till it dies or should I change the fluid? I don't know if you're referring to the transmission or the engine oil. Transmission, at that miles, I would try to change it if you have a shifting concern. If not, then if it's not there, I'm not worried about it. Just keep going and see what happens. If it's engine, I'm kind of worried about that. Metal is not good in the pan, but try to change the oil and keep an eye on it if it reoccurs. Does the car have symptoms, though? Because sometimes I've seen some rod bearings on Toyotas. You take them out, it's like, how was this engine running quietly? But that's just the way they are. They're great cars. So Sherry says, do you think a Pontiac Vibe is as good as a Toyota Matrix? I think so. They're exactly the same car, just maybe the radio will go out, that's made by Pontiac. Maybe the headlights and the bumpers will fall off because that's made by Pontiac, but everything else will still be there. No, that's just a joke. Pontiacs they made okay cars, but the Pontiac Vibe is actually one that stands out because it is essentially a Toyota Matrix. There's nothing different really. I'd say they're pretty good cars, and they can be had today for very cheap, which for a lot of cars. So Jezeret Umit says, hi, I just bought a Prius Prime. In how many years I can have 25 electric range? Should it be possible to change more advanced battery later to have better electric range? I don't think there will be upgrades for the battery in the future. So where you can put a bigger battery, get a longer range. And as far as a 25-mile range, at some point, and at this point is very, very far in the future, the range will start slowly decreasing as the life of the battery decreases. But we're talking many, many years and many miles. We're not talking, oh, in 3 years, it'll start dropping. Now, it'll drop at some point, but it'll be very slow increments. It's not going to just wake up one day and all of a sudden the range is 50 miles and that's it. No, it'll drop slowly, very slowly. So Abdel Fattah Mugi says, I have Toyota Progress model 1998. My problem is when I start the car, I repeat 2 or 3 times. Even if I change the fuel pump, please tell me what's wrong. So I'm not familiar with what model that is because that's not a US model. Honestly, things like that, they would need to be diagnosed in person. So check fuel pressure, check the one-way valve on the fuel pump. There's a lot of avenues that we need to take on there. So this is not something we can diagnose over here, unfortunately. You're welcome to email me. I'll give you some ideas on that. So E. Meyer says, lifetime fluid is lifetime of the warranty. After that, you're asking for trouble. 60K miles is a great time to change it. I could not agree more. I 100% agree with you on that. So Executive Callahan had to leave. And thank you so much for joining the live stream. But one other question I had. I just changed the brights on my Avalon and the driver's side light auto adjusts and settles up too high. I looked it up and there were some screws to adjust. You think that will fix it? Yeah, I would adjust them. So once these headlights settle, that's their resting position. That's when you adjust them. So the next time when you raise them up or lower them, or they raise up and lower, I'm sorry, they're going to raise up from that level. So that's the base level, if you would. So I would adjust them with turn the light on, let them go up and down, and then set the level right there. Just park in front of your garage or something, some flat surface in front of the car and adjust them. So this is a very good question. Abrar, Toyota denies to change the transmission fluid. They say that the transmission on the Camry hybrid is sealed. How to rust-proof your car? I'm in Canada. If the dealership doesn't want to change your fluid, guess what? There's more dealerships that are willing to. I don't understand what this new trend with dealerships, oh, we don't want to change the transmission fluid because it's the sealed unit. We'd rather you come back when your transmission have gone out so we can charge you more to replace the transmission. That's how I see it if I was a customer. It's like, are you open for business or are you open for what works for you? Demetrius says, hi there, I'm looking into the new Mirai. Do you have any experience? We've already covered this question. I'm not really trained for them. I don't have every single detail, but I worry about the hydrogen. So Thomas says, hi CCN, greetings from somewhat warm Florida. Trust me, it's a lot warmer than Chicago. I'm freezing already. 60 degrees when we started the live stream. It's probably half that because the heater is off. Great chat. Have they finally fixed the 8-speed transmission? Can't decide 17 or 18 Camry. So they have. There has been a few software updates and even hardware changes. The 17 Camry will be solid, 6-speed, 0 problems. 18 Camry, early ones, will have some issues, but again, there is fixes for them. So if you're going to buy an 18 Camry used and you're not sure if it's early, late, and you're worried about this, get an extended warranty. If you're buying it certified, it already comes with 7 years, 100,000 miles. If it's a certified car, that's powertrain that covers the train. So I'm not worried at that point. If You buy it, very low miles, you have shifting issues, we got to replace the trans, well, the warranty will cover that and life is good. So, Soccer Dad says, is there any word on a fully electric Toyota in the near future? Thanks. So, I don't really have any information on this. On the service side, we usually are the last people to get word on proposed new stuff. We only get stuff that are actually coming out. So no, I don't know anything about a full electric car other than what's available on the internet, rumors, and if there's any official press release from Toyota. Greetings from Nigeria. Hey man, it's halfway across the world. Welcome. So, Supa Dupa, thank you for your super chat. On the 2004-2006 Lexus 430, what's the softness, quietness of a regular spring strut versus air suspension? Honestly, the Lexus, that generation Lexus is really smooth, regardless of air suspension or regular coil springs. Quietness is going to be the same. Softness, the air suspension will be a little bit softer, but honestly, Toyota doesn't make, in order to make the air suspension reliable, they didn't go very crazy with their air suspension. They're usually very lazy moving. They're not as active as some of the Germans. That's why they have so many problems. Trust me, I know I have one of those cars. So if I was in a situation that I'm gonna pay more for an air suspension car, air suspension Lexus 430, I wouldn't, because the difference is not really worth that much. I would just go with a regular coil spring. As they get older with age, they are going to have problems, and air suspension seems to be a little bit more expensive. So I'd actually go with a regular spring strut because they are very, very nice driving cars. They're very smooth, and you will not have issues with them. So, guys, we're going to wrap up the live stream in a little bit. We'll give it another 15 minutes. So, hello, sir. Xiaodu says, hello, sir. My 2020 2.5 gas Camry has horrible miles. Any tips to improve? Well, that depends on your driving conditions. Are you driving in the city? Or is it congested city? Is the temperature outside very cold? One thing, check your tires, check your brakes. That's a newer car. Probably don't have any problems with sticking brakes. But there are a lot of things that would change your gas mileage. Mainly is the way you drive or the conditions you're driving in. So I would look at those. Maybe reset the counter, take it on a long highway drive and see if things get better. If they do, then it's probably the driving conditions that you're driving it in. So, Kaki Swag says, I have a 2016 Camry 4-cylinder that has a buzzing noise coming from the driver's side of the engine compartment. When you idle after driving for about 30 seconds to a minute, then it goes away. What is it? So my first guess would be the purge valve. It buzzes all the time. That's normal if it is the purge valve. So the purge valve will be around the intake. Try to, with the car running, you hear that noise, put your hand on the valve. If you feel that's where the buzzing from, then that's normal. I don't really recall anything common problem-wise with a buzzing sound, but that's the first thing that comes to mind. So, PNW Weinzer, sorry if I said that wrong. Merry Christmas. Well, Merry Christmas to you too, sir. Thank you so much. Just bought a 2020 Camry SE. Congratulations. Do you know anything about the fuel pump recall? What years are affected by it? So far, my VIN says no recall. So, guys, I cannot talk too much about recalls, but I'll say this. I do not have access to the information. The fuel pump recall is a very simple one. If it's affected, get a new fuel pump, be on your way, and you're good to go. But if your VIN doesn't call for it, it might call for it in the future. I don't have that information. So if it doesn't call for it today, I am not concerned. If you have an issue, if it does call for it in the future, get it done as soon as possible with the recalls, not just this recall, all recalls. As soon as you find out about them, get them done, and you'll have no issues. So, Ali Kazal says, "Hi, what do you think about the RAV4 Hybrid 2017? I want to buy it. What can you advise me?" Ali from Sweden. They're great cars. I do have a video on some of the few little odds and ends with this car. Just make sure you buy one that's well maintained and taken care of, because hybrids do get very expensive if they're neglected. If they're taken care of, which most people take care of them, just make sure you buy that one that's taken care of. You should have no issues. So Jose says, which one is better? Corolla gas only or hybrid? I'm driving 44 miles city one way. In that case, I would say the hybrid will probably do you better, get better gas mileage. They get better gas mileage in the city. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the gas mile either. But I would drive both, see if you like the hybrid, and go with it if gas mileage is very important to you. So Jack says, "Hi AMD, thank you for sharing your professional knowledge and experience as a Toyota Master Diagnostic Technician." Thank you so much, sir. I'd really appreciate it. It's my pleasure. "I wish more dealerships have technicians with your passion toward Toyota vehicles." Thank you, sir. I love what I do, and I enjoy working on cars every day, and it has its moment, trust me. There are moments where I just want to pack my stuff and leave, but for the most part, I enjoy what I do, and I love it, and I also love to help people, and that's my way of doing it. Well, Bob says, good afternoon. Good afternoon to you too, sir. "I just bought a 2000 Lexus RX 300 with 191K. I'm considering drain and fill on the transmission along with changing the filter. What are your thoughts?" I would advise you not to, actually, because unless you know that this transmission fluid has changed, and if I'm not mistaken on that Lexus, it's every 30,000 miles. It's a T4 possibly. I would not, unless you've had a consistent record of it being changed every 30. I would just leave it alone, because you could cause more harm than good in this case. So Jack W says, "Have you had experience with 2007 Camry 4-cylinder with 5-speed manual having whining noise under the hood around 30-35 miles when only slightly step on the gas?" So I have not had an experience like that, but just from your description, that could be something with the final drive of the transmission. I would isolate that noise to the transmission and repair as needed, either replace it or tear it apart, see what's going on with the final drive, maybe a bearing, maybe adjusting the gears, something of that nature. But isolate first that is coming from the transmission. So Eric says, "Hello from Wyoming, I believe." Oh, wait, that's Washington. I'm sorry. WA is Washington. I lost my chain of thoughts there for a second. "So thank you for the stream. Your opinion on the 2.7 in the Tacoma versus the V6. Is it for a long-term keeper?" Absolutely it is. So the 2.7 liter engine is a one-off. It's not in any other car other than the Tacoma. And it is just seriously the best engine Toyota ever made. One of the best engines. Depending which year Tacoma you're looking at, if you're looking at a 16, the 4-cylinder will definitely be more reliable than the 16 Tacoma. I love the Tacoma, but it had a rough launch in 2016. We'll talk about that in a future video, but the 4-cylinder is really a keeper. I mean, that guy, it doesn't make a lot of power. It's not great for towing, but it's a really good engine. I mean, other than valve cover gasket leaks when a thing has 200,000 miles and maybe an occasional water pump, nothing goes wrong with that engine with good maintenance. All right, from Israel, and I'm sorry, I don't read Hebrew. I can't really read your name, but I know who you are, and I'm trying to, I think you have a Sienna. "Thank you very much for all the help, information, and patience. I would like to hear your opinion about engine converted to work by LPG." So I actually don't have experience with LPG. On a visit a few years ago to go to SEMA, I saw in Las Vegas they use Prius Vs converted to LPG. That was pretty interesting, actually. But honestly, I don't have experience with them, especially with Toyota. I can't really comment much on that. So Jack W says, "The noise goes away instantly when let go of the gas pedal or step on it to accelerate. The noise started when the vehicle was around 60K. Now it just passed 120. So Jack, do me a favor, record that noise and send me an email. That's better for me to understand what the noise is and try to help you better. My email is thecarcarenet@gmail.com. Make a little recording with your phone, send it to me, let me take a look, and we'll go from there. So Daniel says, I just caught the end of the last answer. Does someone have a rattle in their headliner area behind the driver's side? Yes, I believe it was a 08 Avalon. And I'll publish this live stream. You can watch it later for what I said about that. So Jasaret Umid says, could you talk a bit about put the gear to P park hybrid system deactivated issue? So that one is interesting. When the hybrid system disables, before you have a chance to put it in park, it'll display that message. Usually when the ready is off and you're not in park, it's going to freak out because it knows you're not in park and it can't just override you, if you would, because if you have any speed on the car. That does happen when sometimes when the car is parked and the battery is very low and you're trying to start the car. So I would actually start with checking the battery first and go from there. If it persists and the battery is fine, then unfortunately you're going to have to check for codes and see what's going on with that. So Bob says 2008 Camry 2GRFE U660 chirping sound when idling in gear. Shift to neutral, sound clears, torque converter. Not necessarily. So there are a lot of noises with this engine combination, or actually that car. Do me a favor, do record that sound, send me an email, and let me listen to it, because it could be 100 things, or it could be something simple. Send me an email, let me listen to the noise, and we'll go from there. So Hakan Saijili says 2019 Toyota RAV4 hybrid, 40,000, is that 40,000? Yeah, 40,000 kilometers. The engine sounds very loud. Seems as if it's loud like banging. What could this be? Yes, I 100% agree with you. They are pretty loud, and that's pretty normal for these cars. That's just the way they are designed. The direct injection pump is very loud, the fuel pump, and the injectors themselves are loud. So I'm not, I wouldn't worry about it, but I understand you. I hear you. It's very loud, and it could get pretty annoying, but that's just the future of cars. They're changing. Joseph says, how often should you change PCV valve? I think we covered that already. There's not a maintenance item. If you're doing it yourself, when you replace your spark plugs. Joyce Walsh says, my 2012 Prius don't get good gas mileage. Now, good gas mileage really depends on what kind of tires you have. Do you have locking up brakes? How's your driving? Are you driving in traffic? Are you driving in very cold weather? All these things affect the gas mileage. Does the car need maintenance? Are the spark plugs okay? Is the air filter plugged? I mean, it goes on and on. But I would start with your driving conditions. Are you driving in cold weather? Is it stop and go traffic where it's very heavy traffic? Do you have a heavy foot, like me? You know, there are a lot of things, but my first thing I will tell you when you get bad gas mileage with a car, don't go spending money. First thing is analyze what your driving conditions are. Check your tire pressures. That's the big one. What kind of tires do you have? And go from there before you start spending money, and then you're back to the same thing. We still don't have good gas mileage, just to find out that, oh, I just stopped driving on the highway, or all of a sudden the temperature dropped outside or something of that nature. So Safe Khan says, is there any problem if I upgrade hybrid car audio system? There is no problem if it's done within reason. Now, if we have 17 booming speakers in the trunk and 7 amplifiers, yes, that will be a problem, because that's too much draw on the hybrid system, and it's not like a conventional alternator. But if it's within reason, something reasonable, not over the top, I think it'll be okay, and you should have no issues. Let's see here. So we'll take a few questions and we'll wrap up the live stream, guys. 2014 Corolla high beam. Night won't turn on. The fuses are fine. The bulbs look good. look good might be a problem. I would actually swap a bulb, because I've seen a few where 2 bulbs gone out in the exact same context that you're putting it at. Otherwise, I'd look at a switch, look at some of the other stuff. Okay, so Super Duper, thank you for your super chat. Is it okay to use regular fuel on a 2004-2006 Lexus LS430? And if memory serves right, that does take premium fuel. I would not. When the cars are designed for premium fuel, you really got to stick to premium fuel, because you're going to have a lot of issues from knocking, from early set on carbon buildup, to all kinds of problems. So yes, just like I told you, when your car takes regular gas, there's absolutely no benefit doing premium. But if your car takes premium, you have to stick to premium, because you really don't want to find out what's going to happen if you don't. So yes, I would absolutely stick to premium if that's what that car takes, which I'm almost positive it does. So Kevin Opar, thank you for your super chat, sir. I was traumatized when my Nissan starter failed with no warning. Now I don't go in my remote camping spot with no self-service. Would hybrid alleviate my starting anxiety versus the 12-volt starter system? Potentially, Kevin, but I will tell you one thing. Just taking it to the next level, because you had a bad experience, and I totally get it. There's nothing worse than you getting stranded out there somewhere alone with no self-service, and the car just decides to quit. That is just, it sets you in a mood that it's like, oh my God, now what? The only thing I will tell you about hybrids is they don't have a starter, so their chances of starting are very high. I mean, not even on the same planet as gasoline cars with a regular starter, but they also have a tiny little battery. So the batteries going dead on them are common, and they will happen. So what I'd recommend if you're going to go the hybrid route is get a jumper pack, like one of those small jumper packs. I reviewed one on the channel. There's a lot of many, like small little ones that they don't need to be expensive. Throw it in the trunk, carry it in case you're out there and there's no cell service and you left the door open, you're sitting in the car, whatever the case may be, and the battery died. Now the hybrid system can't turn on. It's just a bunch of computers that turn on. Use that little jumper, jump the car, and be on your way, because there's no starter to go bad. So that's the only thing I'd say on that. All right, guys. So here's what I'm going to do. We're going to wrap up the live stream. I'm going to take one last question, and I take a random question. I'll scroll down the screen and pick a random one. So let's go with this one. Darian Fox, 2002 LE 4-cylinder, 2005 LE 4, 2013 LE, 2017 LE. If you want a more luxurious feel, XLE. Oh, so I guess I didn't pick a question. Sorry. Let's pick another one. Let's go with this one. So, what's your thoughts on Mazda and Toyota merger plant coming to Alabama? Is Mazda reliable, specifically a Mazda 6? Honestly, I have made fun of Mazda on my channel. Sorry if you like Mazda and I did that. But honestly, they're okay. They're a good company. They've had some bad times with Ford mainly. But overall, they're a good company. I don't think they're bad. Actually, the Mazdas that are Baz Toyotas now, the IA and the new hatchback Yaris, they've been okay. They've had a few issues here and there, but nothing crazy. For the most part, they've been pretty reliable, actually. So I'm impressed. Good job, Mazda, I guess. But I don't know about the merger plant. What's going to come out of that? I guess we're doing one of those nervously waiting for the next thing to come. But so far, it's looking good, because Mazda cars that we've had, they've been pretty okay. They don't have issues. So I hope something good comes out of that. I never thought Mazdas were bad cars, but they're not at the same level as Toyota. But again, that doesn't make them bad. Just like Subaru, just like Honda, they're maybe not the same as reliable as Toyota, but that doesn't make them bad. That makes them second or third best. So that's pretty good in my book. All right, guys. So with that, we're gonna wrap up the live stream. I know you guys put a lot more questions, and I would love to sit here and answer them. But since I'll tell you a few things before we wrap up the live stream. Since this was so successful, and you guys, I thank you so much for joining the live stream, and thank you for watching my videos and joining the channel. And since that is the case, I'm gonna try to make this a regular thing. Let me think about it, see where it leads, and I'll try to establish a schedule where we have this live stream on a set time every week, every other week. Let me see what works for me best. In the meantime, thank you guys so much for joining the live stream. I hope I was able to help you. If you have any questions that I didn't get to, I apologize, but time restraints. I gotta get back to the family. And send me your questions, either comment on one of the videos and I'll eventually get to it, or send me an email at thecarcarenut@gmail.com. Guys, I will always answer your comments and your questions, even the bad ones. If you think I'm terrible, that's okay. And I will always get back to you. Just give me a little bit of time because things are a little hectic around here in Car Gear Nut Land. Thank you again for joining the live stream. May the Lord bless you and keep you. And you guys have a wonderful day.